Well, we've got stuff to talk about here today on the Ramon Foster Show. And what's going on, Moan?
A lot. It depends on how Sunday went for you in recovery, right, DK? And messaging that was sent out over the weekends, or if you're like Joe R here, what the heck was going on first play of the game, whatever.
Joe preempts the program by saying, I would seriously like to know what the hell is that play where the two tackles both pull and basically crisscross each other? It seems like it confused our team instead of theirs. Mo, tell me that hasn't happened to you.
It's happened. It's happened.
Were you and Dave just run into each other?
Yes, it's happened. I ain't gonna say no. I don't think it was numerous times, but I've seen it happen more than once to our team too. DK, words, crowd noise, brain farts, whatever you want to call them. That type of stuff happened. But the way the season went and what we just talked about on Friday, DK, unacceptable. Remember, we just talked about those two guys. Dan and Broderick, we brought them up on Friday, and whether true or not, whether it was called or whether it just happened, it ain't a good look.
Just the worst. In a game where there were so many examples to pick from, that somehow ends up winning here. You got a bell there handy, Mr.
I just
Foster.
reached for it. I sure did, man. I don't know if we need to do this bell upside down or what, but it's not much smiling.
Go ahead.
I'll hit it anyway.
So here's how this works. This is the Ramon Foster Show. And Ramon is an 11-year starting guard in the National Football League. All 11 of those as a starter, all 11 of those with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And his team took a hit, man.
Oh, we took a bad one. A bad one.
It's not the score.
No.
It's 299 yards on the ground. It's
the way it looked.
It's everything. Yeah.
It looked bad. It felt bad watching it. So much so I'm watching it. I started scrolling on my phone just to take away from the pain. Like you couldn't peel your eyes away. You were in the stadium watching it, DK.
I had work to do.
Yeah, you had work to do, man. And it raises a lot of questions. One of them got answered quickly on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken, as far as the coach. I know I don't want to bury that one and go too fast on it. DK.
No. Art Rooney and the Steelers put out word that, Mike Tomlin's going to be back. That's just how that's just how they roll. They want. That was the first day of the off season. That was the first priority, was to make sure that didn't go anywhere.
So let's dive into it, man. I'll say this. I know everybody wants people to go scorched earth and say, fire them and get rid of them. I saw some of my former teammates with just of the mindset like, hey, it's time to end it. Like, load all boats. And I saw that circulating around social media. And my initial thought was, remember we spoke about a DK last week when we did the show leading into the game. Like, 5 in a row says one thing, but a lot of teams, coaches go through streaks, losing, right? Winning too.
Right.
Missing player. Like, there's a lot of that goes on. But I did say, considering if you lost in the first round, right? If you lose 5 straight, and just how it looks too, if like there was ever a year to do it, it was 2024, 2025. If you were ever going to fire Mike Tomlin, it could have been this one. And immediately, DK, late afternoon yesterday, in-house reporter for the Steelers said, we're good, right? And man, I was in group chats with folks, DK, speaking about it. Like, some of my friends, like, I was just like, well, look, here's the thing that you can't tell two people about their relationships, what to do with it. If Coach Tomlin is still satisfied with what the Steelers are providing him, and the Rooney family and even the minority owners are still satisfied with what Coach Tomlin has been able to provide, then we can't make them divorce each other. We also can't make Coach Tomlin say, all right, peace, I'm gone. Like, if they're not choosing to fire him, why would you expect him to just leave? That's my biggest thing, right? Like,
there's a lot of layers to it, even from a technical standpoint, because A lot of people say, well, trade him, trade him for somebody else's first round pick and whatever, if he's so coveted and whatever. Well, Tomlin has a no trade clause. So he's a smart guy. So
hold up before you go further too. The Steelers allowed him to do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They handed it to him.
They allowed that language to be in there. Okay, go ahead.
So no, that's really it, because he controls everything. Like, that doesn't mean you can't fire him.
Yeah.
But you can do that, and then he gets to pick wherever it is that he goes. And obviously the Steelers get no compensation versus, look, we're starting to get people excited probably. This is just not happening. Okay? The very first thing that Art Rooney thought about when this season ended was, I'm keeping that guy. Okay. And if you ever wanted an example of how far they'd go, how much would be too much, you just saw it. And it was still his first move was, I am not letting that guy go.
It was Carol, man. As we bring in comments, Carol brings up the point that I've been painting to folks that have asked me about this too, DK. Carol says it. Our choices are limited. Keep watching and drink, or take nerve pills, or move on ourselves. LOL. That's it, because when you're asking to replace the guy, so here's why. If you're asking to replace the guy, I always try to ask people that like to make these big brain decisions, DK. Mm-hmm. Who's the next one? Do you go offensive? Okay, cool. I had somebody bring up who's the DC right now in Detroit. Glenn.
You should have Ben Johnson?
No, not Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson's the offensive guy.
Offensive. Yeah.
Glenn, I forget his name off top, but they were talking about him. And I'm just like, well, here's the thing. That's Dan Campbell's team. That's like a defense that they've like built up over time, right? Yep. And then here's the other side of it too, DK. If you wanted to go after a guy like him or Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator up in Detroit. Aaron Glenn is his name. Yes, thank you, David Ham. Aaron Glenn or Ben Johnson. DK, here's the separator right here. They got 5 veteran offensive linemen. They got a really good defense. On that team, if I'm not mistaken, they got about 8 or 9 All-Pro and Pro Bowl guys. The Steelers don't have that. So correlating what they're doing in Detroit to what you expect Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn to do in Pittsburgh, that's not reality. I ain't saying they can't do a job, right? But if you believe, DK, and here's where I am, I believe that Coach Tomlin is still a good coach. I don't know if the messaging tired. I don't know if he is one coordinator away from being really good. I don't know if he's a year away from this offensive line growing up to being really good. But if they also think he's a good coach, DK, and if you let him go, some other teams might fire their coach to get him.
Yep.
Then it ain't the sexiest thing, DK, but you keep him. Because I can get you every excuse you want as to how they lost on Saturday. It just doesn't look good, and people just don't like the way it looks right now.
You know what?
Where you at? I see you got some reservations about it.
Here's the thing. This season felt different. Okay, and I'm going to say that in both senses, meaning at 10-3, this felt pretty good. Shared that on the show. Okay, I thought that there were underlying things that were looking good. A couple of concerns. The offensive line still was number one from beginning to end as a concern, and legitimately so. But there was something there, and then Philadelphia, and then it started raining. Right. And there really didn't seem to be an answer for it at any point, and that's the part that concerns me. That's the part where I say, hang on a second. Why is there never an answer? Why is there never a counterpunch? Why is there never, all right, so we saw that Baltimore was wise to what you wanted to do to their offense. We saw that they totally figured that out. They showed up armed, okay? Wow. And it took until the third quarter before something changed there. Yeah. You were having TJ Watt tackle ghosts for 3 quarters on purpose. On purpose.
Just to not give up one thing.
And James Harrison's sitting there on Twitter going, what are we doing? Okay. And you're like, why is this? Why is this happening? Why can't there be a counter? We can talk about all the coordinators we want, Moan, but you know this. You were in there for 11 years.
He's got his hands on it.
He's got his hands on everything.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you brought back 15 years ago Dick LeBeau. It wouldn't matter now. It wouldn't matter if he brought in the most modern whatever. He could get Sean McVay to quit being the head coach of the Rams to come in and be your offensive coordinator. Wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter. And I think that's the part that has people right now, the fans and everything else here. I think that's what has them rattled.
So it's right here. I see Diana. I got another one I want to put up real quick. DK from Skunk. Here's where I am with it too. Skunk goes, not sure I agree, Mo. He's hit his ceiling in my opinion. Longer he stays, the worse it's gonna get. He won't change who he is. And that's why I said a second ago. DK, I mentioned, like, I don't know if he's a coordinator away, if that's allowed, right? Is there another guy that you trust to be able to say, hey, yes, that's your thing? Or hey, Terrell Austin, you do your thing without me being involved and just be a manager. But as long as the Rooneys are allowing it to stay, DK, like, what other answers do you have to the solution other than simply fire him, and they chose not to? I don't know if Arthur Smith's going to take another job somewhere else, or I think it's like 6 or 7 head coaching jobs open right now, and I don't think he's done enough to be able to warrant one of those, okay? So how does he tweak it? We all heard from George. Like, was there progress on the offense? Yeah. Do you still feel confident in it? No. Nah, I think is what he said. So I do think it's internal.
Throw George out the window there on this one. I don't even think he understood what the word was.
That's real. That's real.
You deal with George on a regular basis, and George is looking off into outer space waiting for the next thing he's going to do. He's not even listening to what you're asking. So he just says, nah. And I think his nah, by the way, was just him saying, nah, I'm not going to answer any more questions. I think I'm pretty much done.
Either way, they're running with it like crazy as far as his response to it.
Of course.
But it's a lot of this. Tomlin must go. I'm hearing you. The team got me so heated. Like, I'm hearing all of y'all. But the other thing is this. Like, DK, you might have the direct numbers, but it's been 3 coaches in 40-plus years. They're not going to be quick to move. Is it 40 now? 50. Dang.
Yeah, 1969 was when Chuck Noll was hired. So
here's my thing. So I saw somebody earlier in our comment section says, as somebody a second ago said that like they got a problem with Tomlin. And I'm thinking to myself, like, that's probably true, right? But I think there's a bigger issue with just the management of it, though, DK. If he won't fire himself, right, what do you expect him to do? Like, the guy that you're looking for might not be there. And I don't know who in the heck, DK, it is.
Yeah, I got to say, this is one argument that I always kind of tune out. And I say that respectfully because I understand where it comes from, because you do have to bring in somebody to replace him. But I'll also remind that Tomlin came from.
But that's true.
And Cowher came from. And Noel came from. So this idea that you have to have somebody circled, like we saw what just happened in New England. Okay. Your friend got canned up there.
Within a year.
And your other friend got hired to replace him, since you know him as well. Yeah. Mike Vrabel is now New England's coach. It couldn't be more obvious that that's all that was about.
I know.
They had Vrabel circled. That's all.
Are you so here's the other part behind it then too. Like, Pittsburgh hardly ever drafts in the top 10. Not since Ben. No, Devin Bush, my bad. They moved up to Devin Bush. So we have a feeling there's a gap coach then. And there's probably more losing, more change. And the guy is probably behind the next guy that they hired, is my point. I just don't think the Rooneys, the front office, DK, is willing to stomach that until they feel it, like really realize they have their guy. That's my only contingency. You're right. Cowher wasn't the dude. Like, Noah wasn't Tomlin wasn't the dude. But like in this era of like quick change, I've seen so many teams as of late get a coach, fire a coach. And we've all said for a very long time, the Rooneys don't operate like this. This is a true family business. This is their baby. Other like franchise owners, except for Green Bay, got other billion-dollar businesses. The Rooneys don't. So can you also lose the fans because they won't come to the games because of losing? Or do you want it to be a surefire hire the next time around? My biggest contingency is, yes, Coach Tomlin's got a lot of flaws that he's got to figure out. That's letting go and letting let the peacock fly. Okay, I know peacocks don't fly. But you got to either let them fly, DK, and find somebody else, or to me, the biggest issue goes to the people that are still saying, that's our man and we're sticking by him. I'm with this fan base. Like, there's a lot that has to happen.
My feeling is that the Steelers need a new head coach.
Okay.
My feeling is also that the Steelers aren't going to do anything of the kind. So you try to work within that somehow, and it's not super easy, okay? Because I'm convinced at this point, after all these years and a lot of mistakes and a lot of different things that have happened over the years, including while you were still playing, where you said, wait a second, what is that all about? What did he do with why did he let the offensive line coach hang around all year long whenever he knew he was going to fire him at the end? Okay. Why did he do that? What kind of arrangement is that? What does that say about the culture, the discipline, whatever? And now you're seeing guys just, running into each other. You're talking about defensive communication issues because you have, let's just call it what it is, in Terrell Austin, you've got yourself just basically a puppet defensive coordinator. That's not a shot at Terrell. That's a shot at the arrangement.
Right.
Okay. and it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? How do you think that works in the year 2025?
Yeah.
When you have all these sophisticated offenses and defenses and multiple coaches and whatever, and this one is just winging it. He's winging it from week to week.
So
it doesn't work.
What message do you think it sends then if they stick with them? Or here's
the worst message.
Here's a better question. What if going through this low? I think it's as low as it's ever been in his career.
Yes.
Yeah, correct?
Yes.
We're speaking on hypotheticals because it's the offense. What if he just so happens to turn it around because they've locked in with him?
Turn what around, though, Moan?
We're talking about so I can give you
go ahead. He can start 10-3 next season. And guess what happens?
There has to be a different. No, this is why I'm asking this question now, because if they didn't fire him for not having won a Super Bowl in over how many years, 15 or more, and also not winning a playoff game since 2017, and if he does just so happen to get out of the first round, go into the AFC Championship game, these are big ifs, I know. Do you still stick with them? Because they clearly either believe in the messaging or the coach. And that to me is the that is the main topic of all of this right now. What do they actually believe he will do?
Art in the meeting that he had with, it's a small group of reporters. He does this every January. I was in that room last year. And the point that he made about Mike is that he's really good at dealing with 20-year-olds and keeping them locked in and focused through the whole year. And again, you live that life. Okay.
I can agree.
Whether he gets credit for you being locked in the whole time or not, he gets some. Okay.
Yep.
And I don't think anybody would dispute that part. Okay. I think it's the game coaching more than anything, and the preparation, because you can't just say, hey, I demand this, and then not follow through on it. Why are we talking about defensive communication in week 18 when you didn't even have significant player change? Think about that for a second.
Yeah.
This is stuff you're talking about that's making you mad in Latrobe.
Yeah.
Not at Christmas time. And that's the part that really that hits hard here. I'm going to find something I starred here. I really, really want to bring this one up.
Before this game, I must say, like, my mindset was, if it was ever going to happen, it's this year. I will also say this too. Like, I'm just as shocked as you are that he's still retained. I'll say this selfishly, being that is my coach I played under, I'm okay with it. I can find some reasoning as to why I could, but I expected the other to happen. I expected a Black Monday for him, considering, like I said, the recent history and just how it hasn't gone the way Steeler Nation wanted to go. I've always told, like, if you ever start like listening to the fans and making decisions based off of them,
no,
you'll end up in the
can't do
stands
that.
with them.
Yeah, now that doesn't mean that the fans are always wrong either.
No,
Okay,
I didn't say that either.
Yeah, there's times when the fans are right and the management's wrong, and I think this is one of those times. This was one point that I really wanted to make today, and unfortunately I can't find the comment.
And maybe they don't want to pay former coaches for too long on the books either.
He wouldn't be getting paid like that.
He wouldn't. Okay.
No, because he'd get traded, or he'd get immediately picked up by somebody else, in which case the contract is out.
Best case scenario would be trade if he take it out.
But it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's all we're doing is getting everybody. Woohoo! Listen there, Ramon said this. It's not going to happen. Yeah. You know, somebody brought up that there was a commentator on the broadcast. And remember, in press boxes, we don't see or hear anything related to the broadcast, but that was referring to the Steelers' effort level. Okay, is saying something like they're not putting out enough, they're not trying hard enough, and a lot of people embraced that and said that the players took. I really want to bring this one up today, because that is just not true. Okay. Yeah. These guys were all the way in. Okay. When I was in that room afterward, there was devastation. This was not, as TJ Watt said, any kind of lack of effort. So whoever this guy was on TV that was saying that, and everybody went, knows nothing about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Might know football, might know certain things, okay, but we're talking about the 2024 Pittsburgh Steelers. The one problem they did not have, with the exception of Cam Sutton spacing out on defense, was effort. All right, I just want to get that one out of my system. I don't know. Did you see something on TV that looked like lack of effort?
I didn't see a lack of effort. I saw getting outplayed, DK, but that doesn't also mean lack of. So there's my point, DK. You agreed. Well, you said like you think they should have moved on, and that's fine. But but like the conversation of like the will to win and the coaching up of like a team. Like, if you still got the attention of the squad, albeit, hey, they don't look as prepared as you need them to, or they don't execute. That's what you said. They don't execute the way you need them to. Then, like, can you say he's lost it? Like, my biggest thing in this conversation has been this. All right, to fire him is one thing, but if they agree to be with one another, you keep them together. And if they want to be together and there's something that's keeping them together, then, and I hate to even say this because it's such a cliche thing, hasn't had a losing record. You've made it to the playoffs, got bounced, but you continually put a product out there that's entertaining. Say what you want to, but they've won Monday nights, Sunday nights, Thursday nights games, and beat your rivals in moments. He checks every single box except for the validation of you suck. Right? Adjustments got to be made. But in a world where it's hard finding a guy in general, really, because Pittsburgh it's a different type of place. So if you're telling me he checks every single one of those boxes, but can appease to you in the sense of like playoff wins, when you got 3 MVPs, how many? No, 2 other MVPs in your division, on top of Patrick on the AFC side also. Then what do you do with them moving forward if you say you keep us in it? And I know a lot of people want to say, go win a trophy. Do you know how hard it is to win a trophy? Do you understand like having to draft Kenny Pickett, having to have a season with Ben with a torn UCL, multiple years of losing your star players to injuries, Le'Veon, Pounce. The list goes on, and you still remain relevant and you still win big time games. So yeah, I'm all for the idea that look, it's time for him to go. But I can also see a strong reason as to why you don't let him go. And then and you make the mess out of Russ. You make the best out of Justin. There's a lot more, I feel like, to complain about as it pertains to, do you hire him, do you keep him, or do you fire him? It's beyond complicated. It's like moving out, but you can't pay the rent because you need that other person's salary.
I'm not ready to let this go. Okay,
go ahead. I'm here for
Kirk Herbstreit, who's the college guy. Okay, who they have him do the whatever. Okay, and he says they looked like they didn't have any fight left. Okay, you know what that tells me? I mean, I'm just going to call this for what it is. That tells me that this individual showed up from after studying a whole bunch of college games, and then they give him an NFL game, and he's there to do this, and he doesn't know anything that he's watching as it relates to the specific players of the team or what makes the team up. And this is one of the reasons that I'm always emphasizing: cover the team. Right. Be around the team. Know the players. Know the people who are involved. Yeah. There's so much went so wrong this weekend in Baltimore that was so embarrassing for so many. None of it had to do with effort. None of it had to do. This is lazy. It is. That's what this is. This is, I don't know that guy's name, so I'm just going to say this. You know, if you can't come up with one name other than Cam Sutton where you say, well, that didn't look like, you know, he was really maxing out there. Who? Give me a name. You going to tell me that Cam Hayward wasn't trying hard? TJ Watt wasn't trying hard? Larry Ogunjobi, these guys in the middle, Patrick Queen's sick as a freaking dog, couldn't even prop himself up after the game out there. You going to tell me that's lazy? Mm-hmm. Listen, I don't want to get off the subject here. Okay, I know the subject. No, but I got you because I see another comment that's right on line with it. It's lazy and it's completely inaccurate. It's what happens when you put somebody from minor league football on to do major league football on their broadcast. Okay, that's what that is. He can tell me about the Clemson whoever's or whatever. And you know how I feel about college football. I just don't care at all. Okay, yeah. But that's why you don't mix those things. Yeah, you know. So Knight Rider put this up here. So you telling me the defense was giving effort? You can give effort in a loss. Yes. Here, can we just go ahead and say it too? DK, Baltimore's just a way better team. Way better. And there was no answer for Derrick Henry, and there was no answer. And for this, they thought they had one early. Stupid strategy that they had that they never adjusted. Well, I shouldn't say never. They didn't until late in the third quarter. Yeah. That's on coaching. That's on coaching. You don't think TJ was giving max effort in going and tackling a ghost? Yeah. Well, but he was tackling a ghost. So here's where to that point of like, so you telling me the defense, Baltimore is much better. I feel like in the offensive line where they are right now, they got a quarterback that really complements them, even though they're not the greatest offensive line. They got a running back, DK, that they've been waiting 2 years on. They waited 2 years on Derrick Henry. Do you understand me? They sure did. They waited 2 years on Derrick Henry, and you see why, DK. It's such a perfect fit. And here's the thing. All right, you get Derrick in the option, tackle him, and what does Lamar do? First down. Like, I think his first 6 runs was only like 30-some yards, but that's 30-some yards in one quarter. And eventually you got to start paying attention to him. And then you know what they do also, DK? They start hitting Mark Andrews. And then there's this other guy by the name of Isaiah Likely. And then they bring in Patrick Rashard, who's an all-pro fullback that continually just beats you down. And when you go to the other side of the ball for the Steelers, a disjointed offense, you are going to lose. Like, I thought the third time, DK, I said to myself, that's why I picked them, like 18-17. I was like, it should be close enough because they've seen the game plan. And you know what Baltimore did? They said, screw what you think. We're going to do what we do regardless. And there was nothing that can stop. Like, so to a point, maybe you caught the Steelers late in the fourth quarter where they knew the game was in the bag, and you saw some stuff that you didn't like. But DK, we've been that team. Remember I told you, like, the ball's coming right here. That's what Baltimore was able to do. And when you see Derrick Henry smiling when he's running, and there's a picture of Patrick Queen behind him with a disgruntled look on his face, or the fact that Minka, like, Derrick's laughing after the game saying, Minka just wants you to know, man, I love you like a brother, but his business on the field is never personal. You don't talk like that, DK, unless you know you having your way. You have it. That's it. And they do. I'll tell you what, there's a lot of feeling right now that the Ravens are going to win it all. And they probably should. I don't know enough about well, they should definitely get to the Super Bowl. Okay, I think they're better than Buffalo. I think they're better than Kansas City. I don't know enough about the NFC because we don't see those teams as often. So I don't know what you're going to get from just Detroit. As strong as them, but they had some big injuries. To that point though, they got a lot of good bodies in place to keep it going. For the most part, they got most of their offense together. They lost their bruising back, but DK, why has the running back position been devalued? They'll just go find another one, right? Yeah.
Like that's the way it somewhat goes. That's my contention. The Ravens were just that much better. And they have been. We got them in Pittsburgh when, what was it? You were able to get a quick turnover from Derrick Henry and all those types of things. DK, they have bodied everybody right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no question.
And to that point, though, to what Jake says, Buffalo's the only ace in the hole I think that can compete with them on the AFC side. Because Josh Allen is so erratic. They got the run game down. They've barely been using Keon Coleman as of late. So that lets me know that there's a role for him on their offense. And the way Josh Allen runs the football, he can break them down. We don't have a team or a guy that's capable of doing what they do. Those three, big three. And I'll even throw Cincinnati in it. You don't have an offense constructed to beat them. And yes, I'm only going to the offensive side of things because I feel like barring the alien himself, Derrick Henry, it's not many people that's going to run through that team like that except for Derrick. He got him for 168 one time and over 150 the next time. They waited 2 years for that dude.
Ooh. And it was worth it. It was worth it. I think it's going to end up being even more worth it in the very near future. When we come back, we're going to get to the only segment that matters. Don't think that we forgot about it. There's a lot of ground to cover. The only segment that matters is the one that we're heading toward.
That's Ramon. We'll be right back.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
So, without any ado, sometimes they say further ado.
Yeah. What's the other way of saying it?
You just say there's no ado at all here. We're skipping right past ado. And we're going right to it here. Steven comes in with a $20 contribution, by the way. Thanks, Steve. Says, I think Art Rooney has to force Mike Tomlin to let his coordinators do their jobs without a lot of interference on his part, or let Tomlin go. Also, I've been saying for years we need a top-tier run-stopping nose tackle. Actually, can we bring up – can I single out the nose tackle thing first? Because that's something I'd meant to bring up with you. Keanu Benton is a guy I know you feel really strongly about.
Yeah, very much so.
And Keanu had 1 sack all season. Now, I don't think anybody would dispute the impact that Keanu has in the middle. Right. Okay, but nose tackle has also changed a lot as a position. What do you want to see the Steelers do with him? Corresponding with what you already get from Cam, what you've gotten from Larry O, what do you want to see Keanu become in this defense?
What I want him another Cam. I'll be honest with you.
Like a Stefan, basically, you'd be like twin towers. Yeah,
yes, 100%. Another Cam. I think
that's interesting.
That works for me. Like you got it. He's not a drop in coverage guy. He's a straight ahead, beat you one-on-one. Like, be able to put him in positions, DK, to where however long Cam continues to play, to where if you get put in a one-on-one position, or they isolate him in one-on-one position to go get a dub because he's capable. He's shown us he can go do those things. Now, the run game is a part of his matchup, being able to hold anchor and keep the linebackers clean. He's shown he can do those things, DK, and I think he'd get more of being a disruptor now than he does an actual playmaker, if that makes sense to you. So if you're asking me what I want from him, find you another Tuitt like, right? As you just said.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
I know talking to a certain somebody who practiced against these guys for years.
Yeah.
It's funny, as Cam was one thing, but whenever I would talk to you guys about Tuitt, it would just be like, you know?
100%.
Rico comes in and says this, also with a $20 contribution, says the Steelers are in flux, especially the offense. Who's going to be the quarterback? What about Najee? Will they trade George Pickens? Troy Fautanu will hopefully be healthy. What about Jones and Moore? And that's not even talking about coaches. Let's just take the line here, Moan. Have we seen Broderick Jones? Oh, geez, because Troy's going to be back, and you're going to have Troy on the left side, aren't you?
He played right in college. Is that correct?
He doesn't care.
He don't care?
No. Broad says the same thing. And now with the way the offensive line mentality is so we're both getting paid.
They are now. I don't think it
He just
matters as
left.
much.
Yeah, it does not. No.
But here's the thing. If Roger's going to play right tackle, he's got to take on the characteristic traits of a right tackle too. Be a bruiser. Be somebody that's moving bodies around. It ain't cute playing on the right side of the offensive line. You're known to be run graders, guys that are adequate enough to pass pro, and that's something he's got to get better at. But your nastiness and finish is something that is absolutely necessary to play that right tackle position. And that's where something I don't think he's hit well on going into the second year for himself. I've seen some good, but it's also a situation where there needs to be more if he's going to take on that right tackle spot. To me, I think Troy fits what I've seen so far of a left tackle. Quick, agile, on his feet, explosive, and great from stop to start to stop. Like, that's been him from what I've seen on tape so far. And he's got an edge. He ain't the tallest at all. He reminds me a little bit of Tristan Wirfs, a little bit, if I'm not mistaken. Like, he's that height to me more than anything else. Or Tampa Bay's left tackle. Golly, what is his name? Just made all pro. Is that Wirfs also? Either way, I'll get the name of him. But yes, he reminds me of that type more than anything.
So your line next year will be Fautano on the left side. Isaac's
Tristan
still got
Wirfs.
another. Okay, Isaac's still got another year at left guard. A second-year version of Zach Frazier. Right guard is going to be Mason McCormick. Obviously, James Daniels won't be back, unfortunately. Right. And then the right tackle is Broad, I guess.
That's Broad,
and
you
got to coach him up.
He's got the most reps at that spot. It'd be almost silly for him to want to move over, considering both sides get paid equally now.
Mm-hmm. Michael comes in and says, thoughts on Rex Ryan calling the team a JV squad and defending Mike Tomlin? Well, I'll tell you this, Moan. It's about time Rex put his foot down. I mean, he's showing some real soul with observations like that. But far be it from Rex to play the heel.
I guess he had to fully step in it, huh?
You got to toe the line at some point, Moan.
He told
I can't.
I know it was coming.
I just hear the name. I can't.
Hey, you better stop putting your foot in your mouth, man.
Oh, no.
With that being said, it's
not a JV squad with
Michael,
TJ Watt on it.
Look what you did. What I think Rex was saying is, I think we've all been blinded and jaded by the dudes that we say are superstars on this team, and the rest of the stars on this team, DK. Well, the jokes are coming in now.
Yeah,
the rest of I love it. What is wrong with you? Yes. My point is this. I think what he's saying is you got to get a little bit more edge and attitude as it pertains to the support cast of the guys, not stars. Offensively, DK, we brought this up. Who can you fully trust in offensively? See, we're done as a show.
Say his name. We're just
done as a show. We are, man. Hoof and mouth disease. Oh
man.
My gosh.
This is so hopeless. Let's just go to something else completely. Whatever the question was. We're sorry about this here.
Yep, that's necessary.
Quag says that to kick Keanu Benton outside, Ogunjobi should be gone and draft some beef for the middle.
It's so easy.
It's first of all, most often, as Moan can describe infinitely better than I can, you have only two of those guys on the field. So it is Keanu and Cam.
Yeah. And
of all the problems that the Steelers had this season, they weren't it. And they actually weren't it this weekend, believe it or not.
Yeah.
The Baltimore figured out before the Steelers did it what the Steelers were going to try to do. Okay, with it coming in from the sides. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the Steelers just sat there and just said, let's try harder, men. No. Why do you think TJ after the game, TJ's like, when we're asking him specifically about that, because they were told to go crashing in on Derrick Henry, just go come in, crash, whatever. And Lamar was told by Baltimore, if you see that,
just pull it and go.
Just tuck and run, man. Yeah. And then he did. And then he did, and nobody answered it. And TJ's like, what am I doing here? I'm tackling a guy that doesn't need to be tackled. And Three quarters that went on. Three quarters.
They switch it up on you, and then you have no answers because by that time you worn down and getting punched in the mouth. And then here's the other thing too. This might be a 3-4 defense on paper, but it's not. Like trying to go get a big run stopper up the middle. Like there's only so many Vita Veas out there. Like you've attempted to go get one, Dan McCullers. was a guy that you attempt to go get a guy for, right? Like you've seen this story before, but they run more nickel and dime personnel or sub personnel, as we like to call it, than anything else. Because again, when you don't have strong corners or you got a back end of the defense that might give it up, or the fact that teams find ways to run away from TJ Watt, you got to start employing guys that got good quick twitch and athletic ability. So having a big stuffer up the middle the way Baltimore does, it just doesn't work for us. Is the way I look at it. It's
Vic wants to bring in John Gruden for the offense. I want to bring in somebody who's about 23 years old.
Bring his emails too.
I'm ready for something that's different. That's really different. Michael says, do the Steelers still have the oldest and the smallest staff? Do they, Moan? Yeah,
I think they got the smallest staff for sure.
Definitely have the smallest. I don't know anything about it. I didn't even thought about oldest.
I never knew age was a part of it too. But I do know they have one of these smaller staffs. I'm not sure how big they are in the analytics and stuff like that either. Like, maybe this is just the next phase.
Mark Z wants to know who's going to be the scapegoat who gets fired for another unsuccessful season. I'll tell you one guy who, and I'm not going to say this is wrong, but who should be in some trouble is Pat Meyer. Let's talk about it. 100%. Okay. You don't like to see a lack of progress in any room, especially when you're talking about, look, we used to say it when you guys were done. Yeah. Well, there's not really talent there. It's a bunch of third rounders and fourth rounders and Kendrick Greens and Kevin Dotsons and whatever. Right. That's not this, man. No. These are first round picks. These are guys who got $24 million guaranteed each. This is different.
Top draft picks too. So I think the offensive line coach is a conversation to be had. I also think, what do you do with the tight end talent that you have in Pat Freiermuth, right? Like they've missed, I feel like, in other directions with wide receiver talent as of late, DK. Like we're piecing together a lot of everything to try to make it work. So I do think Pat Meyer probably one of the first ones to go. I'd even throw Arthur Smith in that conversation because what are you doing with the quarterback and just the flow of the offense too? Like, there is a lot of questions. So, for the folks that say the defense quit, I think that's over and above to me. I look at everything that the offense has done, and it's been very stagnant. DK, we've gone through this before, though. What is it? And it was flipped. It was about 2014 to about 2017 when the offense was carrying everything. Remember that? For the most part. And then it flipped. Pittsburgh can't seem to get on the same page with good and good in the same exact years. The couple of years that you had it, guess what happens? Le'Veon gets hurt. Ben has an injury. Pounce has an injury. Something detrimental happens every friggin' single time. Tuitt gets hurt. Cam gets hurt. So it's fragile. Maybe the like having the ability to scout deeper, further, and to finding guys that can come in and make plays for you. A veteran like Van Noy, but Pittsburgh has those types of guys in building. So a lot, DK, and mostly offense.
Daddy wants to know what happened to Mon Adams. Mon really struggled. Okay, you want to talk about somebody, Mon was put out there, and actually this was one, I thought this was a really good idea, a good coaching move, okay, because these things are also true. This is why you never say, oh, this is the one person to blame for what went wrong. Nobody would bring up Mon Adams in a normal setting, okay, but Mon was put out there because of his reputation as a run stopper, and he did nothing of the kind. He didn't offer any kind of relief, and I love the guy and think the world of that specific facet of his skill set, and it just didn't happen. He just got blown off the ball. And then what happens to what Moan just said, you're leaving Cam and Keanu and everybody out there for 74 some snaps, and it just doesn't work out. Greg Benjamin won't let it go, man. Rex is trying to get his foot in the door.
I bet he is. He even so much he's trying to go back to his old team, man.
The best are the people in the comments right now who have no idea, because this story's kind of dated. They're like, what is this? I don't get it. What's the Rex Ryan jokes? I don't get it. I'm not explaining it.
What's crazy though, to that same point, DK, the goal was to stop Derrick Henry on Saturday. And then you oversold it. But then you had no adjustment.
Is such a good word. Yes, it's perfect for this.
You had no adjustment to play action at that point because you're literally biting on the run with TJ, not giving TJ an ability to run after the quarterback, who's one of the best at doing it. Although I saw somebody said the last month of the season logged 0 stats. And I wouldn't even honestly put all of that on him. I would put it to the game plan with the teams that you had to go through. Philly, Baltimore, Cleveland, Cincinnati,
Kansas
City, right? Like, so I'm guessing he was a part of the game plan that has specific roles that, didn't allow him to make plays. But that's also neglectful as hell too, though, DK.
Steven says maybe we need a change of philosophy so that a run-stopping nose tackle makes sense. We're getting bullied in the run game. They really didn't get... Moan, let's do this, okay? Let's do this. Please explain what actually was happening in this scenario, okay, with the way the offensive linebackers were crashing in on Derrick Henry.
So the way it goes is this, and most teams do this. You take away the one star, the one guy that that's going to get the entire motor going, and it was Derrick Henry. So, yes, you employ a guy like T.J. Watt. Hey, T.J., you were on him. I've seen him do those things. It's even been done the same way, too, when we're facing guys like Megatron or some other alien on the offensive side of the ball where you have double the stars. Put a corner and a safety on you. Put a linebacker even on them underneath, too. Like, these things happen. But what happens is teams like Baltimore adjust. So instead of just selling out and let Lamar Jackson continue to get hit as he's running the ball down the field and advancing the ball also, right? Just say, okay, if they're going to be silly enough to actually let me run, well, guess what I'm also do? I'm going to go down the field with the football. That's when you saw Isaiah Likely get involved. Mark Andrew get involved. The wide receivers that I had no idea was going to make plays for them like that, DK. And at that point, you try to readjust. And guess what happens at that point, DK? Derek is knocking at the door. And I'll be honest with you. Y'all know I've covered that guy for like 4 years here in Nashville. I hadn't seen him run like that since the 2,000-yard season. You know why? He's got a team that wants to do it. You got a offense that keeps it balanced enough to where you don't have to key in on him. And if you do, eventually you got to stop because Lamar going to kill you then. It's the perfect balance of the Steeler killers to me.
It's, this is, where's Rochelle? Here she is. Rochelle's just the greatest. She come back. Wow. She's coming in with force too. Look at that. The $75 gift here. Rochelle says, hey, Mona DK, now that we know that Tomlin isn't going anywhere, what changes should we expect besides none whatsoever? I don't think it's going to be none, Rochelle. I just don't think that happens. But if you think about recent history, well, all we have to go on is precedents because the Steelers, I don't think are going to treat this disappointment or this defeat any differently than they have any other ones. Yeah. I really don't. Okay. Yeah. You're going to see a couple of coaches get changed, guys who probably weren't getting the job done all season long anyway, for real. Yeah. And you're going to see, a handful of moves. And by the way, how amazing is it that we've gotten this deep into the show and not talked about quarterback? Who's the quarterback? Who's the quarterback of this franchise? Never even came up today. That's where this is.
Even further, what is the play of the quarterback going to look like if you roll with Justin or you double back with Russ?
Oh, they're going with Russ. He's not going to admit he's wrong. They're going with Russ. You can take that one. You can take to the bank, man. I got a bank right over there across the street. You can take it over there.
I see it. Yeah. So with that being said, though, too, DK, you're not trash enough to be able to be picking in the top 10. So is this just the purgatory you left with? Like it's
a lousy quarterback class in the draft anyway. We're all going to be hearing about that.
I see my guy Frost said, dude, what about Sam Darnold? Like, can you really trust that? Or is Minnesota
someone's going to overpay Sam?
Here's what I would tell you this too, Frost, is this. Pittsburgh doesn't have a Justin Jefferson. Okay? They don't have a Jordan Addison, right? They don't have an offensive line in place the way Minnesota does. And then offensively, you ain't got the coordinator the way their head coach is calling plays in Minneapolis, right? So Minnesota, stop with the wishful thinking of Sam Darnold being your dude. And do you think Pittsburgh, DK, in your opinion, is going to pay about $65 million for him? The answer is no.
This is my favorite. This is where I am, and this is where I've been all along. And I took some heat from a lot of you in the comments over there. But I wanted to see more Justin Fields. I said that at the time. Go back and play the shows again. He was showing improvement. I had a talk with Justin in Baltimore after the game, and his arrow was going like this.
Yeah. And
then they pulled the plug, and then coach gets there at the podium after one game that Russ had and said, this is why I get paid the big bucks. Justin was your only chance of surviving that offensive line.
Being immobile.
Right. He could get out of there. Russ only thought he could still get out of there. And Russ would get dragged down, and Russ would get sacked 5-6 times a game. That just wasn't going to go anywhere. And it sure as heck isn't going to go anywhere when he's a year older or 2 years older or 3 years older, and you have $100 million in cap space committed to him. But they're not going to do that.
Oh, he deteriorated, DK. He did. He got found out. Then he was unmobile.
Well, he got found out, and he also got worn down. He looked like an older quarterback by the time he got done. Why? Because that line, I think, to a large extent, and his natural tendency to hold the football.
The other thing, too, is it was the element of surprise, too. Right? What do I always say? Is more tape you get on you, the more teams realize where they can attack you, and that's also what happened. It was a great burst, I feel like, for that portion of the season. I wish they'd have held on a little bit later and did it whenever they went through the gauntlet of seeing Philly and Kansas City and Baltimore 2 times.
How about the sack? Poor Calvin Anderson. He's out there taking Dan. You know what I'm going to bring up, right? He's out there taking Dan Moore's place at left tackle. And you're like, he doesn't know what he's got his block. Okay. He had his block. And Russ pulls a Kenny Pickett and runs over to the left side and runs right into the sack. And I'm looking in our comment section on our app, and people are going, Calvin Anderson. No, man. No, see, that was Russ.
And that's why Dylan says, thank you for the contribution. Said, my Steelers are the laughing stock of the NFL. Not true. You're far from the laughing stock. I think you got questions. But as far as laughing stocks go, DK, I think you're far removed from that.
Yeah, don't forget that whenever people are commenting on the Steelers having a really rough day as if it's the biggest of big news, there's a reason for that. Because the Steelers are expected to be different. Yeah. They're expected to be one of those teams, and they most definitely are not that.
So I see one real quick, DK, from the Uncle's Table. Catboy, man, says, Mike Moan, is Tomlin practice too much for the health of the team? Camp can be hard, but here's the thing. That's like the requirement of it. Like, is it too much? The NFL and NFLPA, CBA, like, bargain for, like, the way the structure of practice is supposed to go. So is it too much? No, for the health of the team. You get bad misfortune at times. I'm not sure how Troy Fontano got injured, DK. But here's the thing about it. Training camp, though, is what you want. DK, you've seen it year after year. It can't, unless it's changed. Like, the team is hardened. Can I say it one more time, DK? The team's just not as good as we thought it was.
No, certainly not on offense. Although I don't know how good I thought it was offensively, but
it was optimistic. You thought George would take a bigger step. You thought there'd be a wide receiver 2 that popped up. Of course, the young cat out of Michigan, right? Him being able to come out and make plays. So you got nothing out of him this year. Troy, Roman Wilson. You saw a lot of promise out of Fontano. You see what you get out of Zach moving forward. So they're young. They're young as heck, and they got no real answer at quarterback right now until we figure out if there's a real answer for Russ or for Justin Fields. And I know a lot of teams want a Justin Fields on their team.
You know what's funny? Look at the teams that are left. Look at the teams that were in this playoff round, and look at the number of them that have mobile quarterbacks.
You got to.
That's not an accident. And from a pure mobility standpoint, you'd take Justin almost just from that singular standpoint. You would take Justin over any of them.
If he can for sure stop making his flubus, but heck, Josh Allen still have moments like that. What am I saying?
Oh yeah,
I saw Justin Herbert this past weekend not even look like an NFL quarterback at times, but he has the tools to get it done. I was shocked by that game if there was ever one.
That was something. When we come back, we're going to take care of some business here on the Ramon Foster Show. Yeah. I know. Wow. But we knew this episode was going to be like this, right?
We called it. We also thought there'd be some crazier news too, right?
Well, did we?
Yeah. If there was my sentiments leaving on Friday was if there was ever a time, this would be it. That was my biggest thing.
This isn't it. He's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. And as a result, you're going to see them come back with the same thing, the same approach, same attitude. You're going to get rid of a couple of coaches, and then they're going to paint it. Specifically, Tomlin is going to paint it as, well, certain players weren't a certain fit. We're going to address this and this thing. And they're all going to come up with a singular theme. That's another thing that happens in January's, by the way, where it's going to be the one thing that we need to be as a football team is fill in the blank. And you're going to be like, remember, that was Rooney's thing. We have to be able to run the ball. Okay.
It was when Haley came in, we got to be able to protect Ben.
Protect Ben. We're preserving and prolonging Ben's career. That was the theme. That's right. You're right. That's exactly what that was. That started with a Rooney in January thing.
Wow. Whew, DK.
Yeah.
So here's one question. We early off season right now on January 13th. The stadium get packed game one again, or would people take a stand and be like, I ain't doing it?
I saw you started that earlier, and I'm gonna put it up here. This isn't gonna happen, people. There's a waiting list of 20,000. Okay, 20,000. That's enough to fill out an arena. There's a waiting list to get those season tickets. The moment that anybody lets these things go, they're gonna get snapped up as if they're gold lying out on the sidewalk. Okay, so nobody's emptying out anybody's stadium. And by the way, stadium revenue is like this much in the overall pie. All of this is TV money. So you're not going to boycott anything.
You want another quick little pro tip? The top 16 revenue teams, guess what they do, DK? They cut a check to the bottom 16 so that everybody survives. This is a fraternity.
And the Steelers are not considered one of the top revenue teams in the league. They're not, because in part because of Acrisure Stadium. It's got a modest capacity and everything else. We should call this one a day, Moan. We're done here. We're toast. Look at us.
Yeah, you give them one.
We got nothing. We got nothing here.
It could be worse, is what I could tell you.
I'm not sure that people would agree with that at the moment, because this looks like a total lack of hope. That's what this looks like, and it feels like. Like, really?
That's what the off season's for.
Yep.
That's what the off season's for, DK, to get the hope back.
And the draft and everything else. Are we doing one on Wednesday, Moan?
Yeah.
All right, you sure? All right. Let's do a show on Wednesday here. I was ready to do our big Friday sign off here, but it's Monday.
It's just hey, Antoine.
Yeah. He's actually been that way through the entire episode. I've noticed him over there. He's getting into all kinds of stuff, and it's rough.
Hey,
it's rough.
What do you know? What I tell you? My last parting words, DK. Be happy for the couple that love each other. They clearly don't want to break up. So,
that's it. Jason just wants to see us again Wednesday, so we're going to make a deal with him and do exactly that. All right?
Yes, Jason. See you then.
All right, guys.
Peace.